Yo, what's good with y'all tonight, man? As promised, like I said, when I got the chance to hear it, I was gonna talk about it. We got here the game, the documentary two, this too. The album dropping Friday, so make sure y'all go get it. It's on iTunes now. You can get the El Chapo joint and my flag, the homies joint as well. When you pre-order. But basically, let's talk about it. Now, first off, I will say that in my opinion, this should have been this one. It has more of a LA feel. The West Coast sounding music on here, some great West Coast artists as well. And a lot of things that he spoke on definitely could have went out to the public first before he released, the two discs. And another thing, I feel like the documentary two should have just been a double album. It could have been like, All Eyes on Me, uh, Life After Death, you know what I'm saying? That would have been Game's double album, which would have been dope. Now, I do feel like still the way that he announced it, it kind of threw everybody for a loop. But at the end of the day, we all heard the music. He should have just released a double album. I think that would have been dope as hell. And we could have all just, listened to it in its entirety. But nevertheless, let's talk about it. This joint, you already know who featured on it, already talked about it. So let's just get right into it, man. New York Skit is the first track opening up the album. It's just basically Game breaking down the beef between him and 50 Cent, seeing how he didn't have to do it because we basically know all of this. If you actually listen to the song he did over the Down and Out freestyle, I forget what mixtape that was. He basically broke that down if you watch his interviews. So it was cool for him and Sway to break that down. And as it's ending and going into track two, you actually see some niggas pull up on the car, at the light next to him and shit. And that kind of was crazy. Then it goes into the next track, Magnus Carlson featuring Anderson Peak, a real jazzy, soulful song. You know what I mean? I definitely enjoyed the hook and the vocals, vivid lyrics. Game doing what he doing, talking that talk, and just basically giving you that content that we all grew to love. And that goes into Crenshaw, 808s and Cocaine featuring Anderson P and Sonye. I personally think this song was great. The production was A1. I thought the hook was pretty weak. You know what I mean? No shade. But at the end of the day, I just feel like everything else about the record was great. The dope production, his lyrics was raw as hell. He didn't hold nothing back. The background vocals and the surprise Sonye verse, which I didn't think she was going to spit, but she definitely can spit. And I definitely can appreciate that. Going into track four, Gang Bang Anyway featuring J Rock, Schoolboy Q. Of course, it's just straight street record. Talk about, the ins and outs of it, what they do, how it all came about. And then that goes into track five. If you listen to the last song to where somebody got shot, and it goes into track five, The Ghetto, featuring Nas and will.i.am. The little clip before the song actually starts is incredible, but this is an incredible song. Basically, it's talking about the urban area, man, the hood, growing up in the projects. Nas on the East Coast, Game on the West Coast. You got will.i.am on the hook. Beat was phenomenal. Very graphic, vivid lyrics of what it's like to live in poverty-stricken areas. And I was definitely surprised at this record. Not that it was great, but at the same point of Game verse, the way he breaking down certain situations even in track four to go into track five where he said, 5 million Bloods and it's 1 million Crips, his verse on gangbanging anyway gave a history lesson on both sides of what's going on in the world far as, gangbanging and how that came to be, and as well as, a history lesson on the world, period. And going into the ghetto, he definitely explained a little bit more criteria of what's going on in the hood. Moving on to number 6, From Adam featuring Lil Wayne. First off, I didn't understand the title. I thought it was like From Adam, meaning you don't know another nigga from Adam. Like, you know what I mean? That saying, I probably didn't get it right, but y'all get what I'm saying. Featuring Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne just on the hook. You definitely can hear Game's pain. I definitely enjoyed the first verse. The second verse is what stood out to me the most. Soulful sample. And you could hear the pain in his lyrics. So I definitely feel like that was a standout track. It kind of sucked that Wayne didn't have a verse, but didn't hear Game spit on it. What can Wayne actually add to the track? Going into track 7, Gang Related featuring Asia. Piano-driven beat. Some of the beginning of the record, it was kind of repetitive lyrics, the way he doing the Mike Jones shit and repeating certain lines over and over. But other than that, it's a soulful hook, you know what I mean? Basically about the lifestyle, gang, how he grew up in the streets, basically. And then his homie comes in and just let him know, like, bro, you did what you had to do in the streets. You getting this money. Don't worry about this street shit. We got it, blah, blah, blah. And that's some real homie shit, you know what I mean? Looking out for the nigga, let him know he ain't gotta be out here doing this dumbass shit. He got a family, he doing everything positive. And far as just anybody getting, out of line, we got you. Going into track 8, last time you seen, definitely one of my favorite joints. So is number 5 as well. Scarface, Stacy Barth, excuse me. It's just an incredible record. Just the way Game starts the record off by just breaking down the whole Tupac situation. I definitely enjoyed the production and the hook. Scarface verse was incredible as well. Just like just saying the last time you seen Tupac, you can metaphorically take that as it would never be another Tupac. You know what I mean? As far as music, the culture, and that's basically what I took from the record. It was dope. Going into Intoxicated featuring Dion, I wasn't really feeling it. You know what I mean? I think that intro part where the guy is talking is way too long, before it even getting the track. That kind of can leave you a little bored, at least I was. So I tried to get into it. I listened to it up until Game started spitting his first verse, and I just couldn't get with it, so I changed it. I didn't like that record. Going into Quick's Groove, the one featuring DJ Quick, 7th Streeter, Micah, it's a G, to me it's paying homage to G-Funk, and that kind of in itself, if you listen to Game's verse, he remind me of a DJ Quick, Sugar Free type, the way he flowing and everything. Definitely a good song. I could fuck with it, you know what I mean? That's probably something my mama like. Going into track 11, Outside, featuring E40, Marcus Black, Lil E. Definitely West Coast, early 90s vibe here on this record. It's not for me, you dig, but I definitely feel like a lot of street niggas understand it or can appreciate that record for what it's worth. Going into track 12, Up on the Wall, featuring Problem, Ty Dolla $ign, and YG. The new West Coast with the DJ Mustard, production. I personally don't get why he does these type of songs, but I guess it works to stay in with the new crowd as far as the new West Coast rappers or whatever you want to call it. But personally, it was okay, you know what I mean? I could rock with it, but I just feel like I wish he wouldn't do these type of records. You don't have to do these records to stay relevant. I think Game has his own lane, and that's cool if he jump on a record if it's theirs, but I don't think he should bring that vibe to his projects, and I hear a lot of people feel the same way with the last couple albums Game has released. Going into the sex skit, to me that was funny as fuck. You know what I mean? Game of motherfucking food for that. You ever been with a certain type of chick, you already know what it is, and that shit was hilarious. Going into My Flag, The Homies, featuring Ty Dolla $ign, J305, AD, Mitchie, Slick, Joe Moses, RJ, and Scheme. Too many motherfuckers on the record for one. But at the end of the day, I just couldn't get with it. I listened to it when the iTunes link dropped. Then I listened to it again on YouTube. Then I listened to it on this. Still ain't for me, you know what I mean? No disrespect to that culture, but it just ain't nothing I could relate to. Moving on to Moments of Violence featuring King Mez, John Connor, and JT. Basically, this is my favorite record. It's a fuck the police anthem, basically. You know what I mean? The ins and outs of what happens when, us black folks go out anywhere or anybody in that matter, have to deal with the police brutality and racial profiling and shit like that. So it's definitely a record for the times. One of my favorites. Moving on to track 16, Like Father, Like Son 2, featuring Busta Rhymes. Another one of my favorites. I definitely feel like the original is better, but you got his son rapping on there. The beat was smooth. I loved that sample. Game lyrics is on point, breaking down the things about him being a father, about his son, and then the double entendre he does at the end of the song about Cali, not just to state his daughter. I thought that was dope as hell, man. Going into the last track, track 17, which is Life, definitely got a jazzy beat. That Whitney sample is on point. He just basically expressing his thoughts here from everything that he is going on with him, from life to, anything possibly that was on his chest at the time. He definitely delivered a great song. And it ended the album in a fairly good way, positive note, you know what I mean? R.I.P. to Whitney Houston. And that sample is something I haven't heard used in a while. And of course, the last bonus track, El Chapo, featuring Skrillex, that's just a fucking banger. Still one of my favorite songs. So, you know what I mean? I got like 5 favorite records. It'll be track 5, track 8, track 15, 16, and 18. Overall, man, out of 18 joints, I like 15 of them. Definitely have replay value. Definitely picking this up. I get this album an 8.5 out of 10, man. The production the same as well. It's like it's still on point and it's solid. It's just that Game sometimes still throws in. I feel like it's filler records, and he don't need to do that. And overall, as looking at both discs, I feel like this just should have been a documentary too. This disc, the second disc should have been a mixtape. He threw out, you know what I mean, about 3 months ahead of time before this actually dropped. I think it would have set the course, because I think that you listen to this disc, you listen to the first disc, the second disc has more of an album vibe, and the first disc definitely have a more of a mixtape vibe, in my personal opinion. But still, great fucking project. I will be grabbing it come Friday if I can find it. But y'all let me know what y'all thought about this. What do you think about the whole album, disc one and disc two? And if you had to pick a favorite, which would be your favorite disc? All right then, one.